Boxing King Media in association with Foxtrot. Ben Shalom out here at the Walkden ABC. Something new your team's come up with today, doing a media workout at an amateur gym.
Yes, it's refreshing actually to be back in Manchester in a gym like this. It reminds you why you get in the sport. And just nice to see, and people are so grateful. I think the amateur sport and the professional sport have been so pulled apart that they don't do anything together anymore. We want to get some amateur shows on Sky and start trying to open it up, because they feel a million miles away from what goes on in the professional sport. And I think it's crazy because there's so much money at the top end of the professional sport and nothing here, and it's just trying to open it up, make it more accessible. Boxing tickets are £100, usually £100 for a good ticket, and so these guys have got no chance growing up and wanting to go to boxing shows. There's a lot of them getting into gyms and participating, but how much are they seeing what's going on in the big shows and connected to professional sport? And so yeah, it's great to be here. It was a great day, and obviously thank you to Lawrence Carris, Lauren Price, Jack Cattrall, everyone, Anthony Crawler, taking the sessions, everyone that came down.
Yeah, definitely big things. I can see the kids enjoyed it. So we're here for the big fight this Saturday. We finally got Hearn Okolie, his debut for boxer. Just talk about the opponent initially, David Light. I was talking to Lawrence about it. A video of him circulated online yesterday on the pads where he didn't look great, but you couldn't tell whether he was doing a keep fit session or it was a technical session. Did you watch the video?
I did, yeah. I did think that, but it is what it is. You know, I think Lawrence, why this fight is a massive fight. David Light is a great amateur pedigree, unbeaten guy that's gone over to America, beating his final eliminator on a show that the promoter put on for Glanton. Yes, it was a controversial result, but it was a great fight against a volume, powerful puncher, cruiserweight that put on that fight to make sure he got his shot at Hearn Okolie. I speak to Matt Rose, who's his promoter, who's coming over for this, and Jose Parker, who sparred so many rounds with him. This guy is tough. This guy's coming to win. This guy is experienced, and this guy has the momentum and has been active. Lawrence been out the ring for a year, changed the trainer, not just the promoter, but the manager. It's a lot going on. It's a big fight for him. It's not a fight that we'd have chosen as a let's get back in the swing of things, let's get active. This is genuine world title fight against a mandatory challenger, and he's going to have to be switched on. And I love Sugar. I think he's going to bring a lot to Lawrence's game, but to do it that quickly is difficult, and I don't think he should change too much because he's got this far. And Shane McGuigan is a great trainer and was developing very, very well, and he's become world champion. I do think this partnership's going to be special, but things take time.
Lawrence has had a lot to deal with. I spoke to him earlier, and I said to him, people are going on about your opponent. People are saying you're greedy. You're not fighting in the UK anymore because of tax reasons. You changed trainers possibly because of money reasons. The change of promoters. These are the kind of things people are saying about him online. So it's a lot of shit to carry into your head into almost like a debut. He doesn't seem to be fazed by it. What do you think as an outsider?
Yeah, there is a lot of pressure because there's a lot of talk, and it was controversial. And I think any fighter that seems to want to join or leave or whatever, it just comes with a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pressure. But he's a big boy. He's a world champion. He knows what he's doing when he gets in the ring. He doesn't care what this guy says or that guy says. He knows who he is. He knows what he is. He knows the facts, and he knows what he wants to achieve, and he's not going to be put off by people saying things about him that haven't walked in his shoes and don't know what he has to deal with and don't know what he's achieved. And I think he's in a very good space, and he's very relaxed, and he's just happy and relieved that the nightmare of the past 12 months is over, and he can do what he wants to do, which is get in the ring. So it's a big night for him on Saturday night. First night, huge platform, huge eyeballs on Saturday night, and he's going to have to perform.
He said there's still stuff going on behind the scenes which he couldn't really divulge, so it appears there's still stuff going on behind the scenes. Is there anything that could potentially affect yours and Lawrence's long-term goals together?
Not at all. I think there is between Matchroom and Lawrence. I think Matchroom seem to, there's something going on, but Lawrence is very clear in his position, always had been, and his lawyers are, and this and that. To be honest, for me, it's all noise. I've had it with so many fighters that have come across, so many. It's just like we just want to get him in the ring, and we have never have had any issues. And as I say, he might have a couple of things ongoing. I don't know any details, but yeah, it's all noise. And to be honest, I'm just glad that he's ready to go, because he's got a huge year ahead. I want him to unify. I want him to fight Richard Riakporhe. I want him to go up to heavyweight. I want to see him do it, and I want to see him achieve that, because for me, he's the best cruiserweight in the world. And yeah, just I think the noise he doesn't listen to.
And then moving on down the card, Fraser Clarke, how much pressure were you under to make sure you got an opponent? Because Fraser, again, I spoke to him, he's getting slated for opponents no matter who he fights.
Yeah, I think again, I think if you're on, unfortunately, on our platform, we are on Sky Sports, you have 10 times the amount of people watching you, and there's a lot of scrutiny that comes with that. He's fighting his first 8-rounder on Saturday night, and he's fighting a guy that fought Daniel Dubois in his 15th or 17th fight. There just needs to be some context to this. We got a call on Sunday morning. Riddell Booker's collapsed. Devastating for Fraser, but a lot more devastating for Riddell Booker, who could have died. And that was our first thought. Our matchmaking team have been incredible. 15 hours, they turned around, for me, an even better opponent. And he's got an opponent who really wants to get in the ring with and put on a statement performance. And so he's delighted. It's almost been so unlucky for him. He's had so many opponents pull out, and when it's 2 days, 3 days, we can't do what we just did. But very, very happy with the team, and they worked relentlessly. It was panic, because it was like we don't want this to happen to Fraser again, and they pulled it off, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely pulled in a solid name. Fair play to you guys. One of the questions I was going to ask you, and I prepped it earlier today, was to ask you about the dates you guys have got coming up. I was going to say there's lack of dates, but between that and now, you've announced dates. So just talk to me quickly about, you've obviously signed Chris Billam-Smith's got a stadium fight coming up. Adam Zima, your call, which nobody was expecting. So talk to me a little bit about that and the quality of opponents that we can expect for both of them.
Yep. We could have announced more. We want to focus on Lawrence this week. We just wanted to put a couple of dates in the diary. Adam Azim is going to be back after Ramadan. Big step up again. Massive fight. And then Billam-Smith. Press conference on Monday is something huge, and it's at the stadium, and that was always a plan. So to think where we were in July, selling out the arena, the BIC down there, and then to get to this point, and it's going to be a special night, that. And obviously, Mikel Lowell fights Isaac Chamberlain for the British as well. It's going to be a huge cruiserweight night. We've got 2 other really unbelievable fights with local talent to go on that card as well. It's and then we've got a couple of other shows as well. It's just we've got Lawrence's press conference tomorrow. This is a huge fight for our business, for him. It's a massive world title fight, and that's a focus. And then next week we have a lot to announce, but it's exciting because we've got the young talent, the Ben Whittaker back, who feels like a new signing, who we think is going to be a superstar. Adam Azim, Lauren Price now back, Karis Artingstall now back. It's a good time for us. Chris Billam-Smith now headlining, Richard Riakporhe to come back in the fold, Buatsi, Okolie. It now starts. Savannah Marshall hopefully announced next week, and you know it's starting to come together, and our talent's starting to come through, and yeah, it's exciting now, really is.
And just going back on this show, Eddie Hearn was on a Twitter space last night, and randomly with loads of Twitter fans. And one of the things that he was asked about Okolie's situation, and I think I quoted him saying that you guys are going to be giving tickets away for the entire floor for this show on Saturday. I don't know if you've seen them comments or not, and just your response to Eddie Hearn saying that you guys are going to be giving tickets away because you're struggling to sell Lawrence Okolie.
Look, I think it's clear they don't get on. Eddie said a lot of things about Lawrence and just continues to do it. I didn't say those things when he was with him. I think when a contract comes to an end, it should be respectful. I think that's all I would say. Like, I want to be able to make fights with Matchroom. I think it's better for the sport. So all this back and forth is not good for the sport, and I know that. I think he's going to say whatever he can to hurt Lawrence. I think ultimately Lawrence Okolie was meant to be on Taylor Cattrall. We were then going to do it at Albert Hall, but out of respect to the fact that it was, I think Sky felt with UFC having only one event a year in London, we didn't want to clash there. We're in Manchester, and to be honest, it's sold for Lawrence Okolie in Manchester, and I think it again shows perhaps the power of the platform. For him to even tell anything here is good, and it's going to be a huge atmosphere on there on Saturday night. Mikey Gomez Jr., I remember his dad, because Mikey Gomez Jr. was the first fighter that he was drinking and he wasn't serious and this and that. I remember one of the first shows I ever did, 22 years old, and I was driving around Manchester trying to find Mikey Gomez Jr. because he'd been drinking before his weigh-in. And so to think that he's here now and he's going to fight on Sky like his dad for the first time in an English title is big. We're happy to be in Manchester. Corey Sortingstall in a local thing against Lindsay Basinski, who begged us for the fight for Karis. She's 4-1, and how could we say no? And Karis will take that on as Olympic medalist in the first fight. Callum Simpson, for me, sleeping giant, absolute sleeping giant, and he fights Felix Cash's last opponent, who took him the 4 rounds. And so for us, it was, yes, we have to do Lawrence Okolie in Manchester because we want no clashes so that we don't piss off fans, whatever. We want the most eyeballs on him, but it's allowed us an opportunity like this to come into the grassroots, to come into the sport, and then put on proper fights and fighters that need that opportunity. And it's going to be a great atmosphere in there on Saturday night. Obviously, long-winded answer, but yeah, Eddie's going to say anything he can to hurt Lawrence Okolie.
Just a couple of other quick things, Ben, I want to talk to you about. Why is Chris Eubank Jr. not signed to fight Liam Smith here? Why is that fight not announced? Obviously, I'm saying it on the back end of some interviews today. I spoke to Callum Salon at lunchtime today, and he didn't seem to rule out a Conor Benn fight, and he didn't really say too much about how far your negotiations are about the Liam Smith rematch. Yeah,
obviously, we're surprised, but we don't have a contract with Eubank Jr. We have a contract with Wasserman. Wasserman enforced a rematch clause in there. So they then activated that rematch clause. That means we have to go and contract Liam and all that. So I don't have a contract with Eubank Jr. You'll have to ask Wasserman about their thing with Eubank. All I know is my contract with Wasserman. Obviously, they're probably getting tempted by things. For me, I feel still uncomfortable about talking about Conor Benn fights just now, and that's nothing against him, but it still should be worked through. I can't believe the lack of how relaxed people are about people taking drugs in boxing. I can't believe it, but it is what it is. We live in a crazy world, in a crazy sport where nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me. But as I say, it's a Wasserman question, I think. We have only contract with them, not with Eubank Jr. And as I say, we're just fulfilling a requirement of the first fight that was put onto us.
And the big news today, Usyk Fury, it seems like it's not happening. Big argument over the rematch clause. From your own experience as a promoter with rematch clauses, does it sound fixable? What do you think? Because it seems like they're arguing over this split over the rematch.
I just think it's devastating if the fight doesn't happen, regardless of blaming anyone. These are the fights that turn off fans, that fans don't want to get involved. Broadcasters just put their hands up. There has to be something where there has to be something where in the sport where it gets to that level and it's a unification, where the fight is forced and the splits are decided. We do it with mandatories. And if boxing didn't have mandatory challenges, this sport would not move. It wouldn't move. The promoters don't want to work with each other. The networks don't want to work with the networks. It just wouldn't move. So I'm hoping that we are trying to work with Frank. That's why I'm trying to stay. It's difficult because we're signing fighters, and yes, we're all competitive, and yes, but and even to be in the conversation with Hall of Fame promoters and this and that, we're blessed. Don't get me wrong. We just want to be able to make fights, but mandatories are there. Can we get something else in place longer term where the best fights have to happen? Because if we don't, the sport's in danger. And this is a sport, or is it a business? If it was a sport, like any other bloody sport, the fighters would fight. The best teams in any sport, the best players or whatever, they play against each other. That's what sport is. So it's devastating if it doesn't happen. I'm still hopeful it does, because one day it is and one day it isn't, whatever. But yeah, it's exhausting, because as a sport, it's good for everyone if this happens. And these guys in here, all they want to talk about is Usyk Fury and the big fights. That's what gets them excited. That's what filters down. And it'd be devastating if it doesn't happen.
It's a good solution that you've offered there, forcing the splits. Last question I've got for you is over the last few months we've seen this whole thing between yourself and Matchroom about matching rights. When you sign fighters and when you try and protect your investments, have you ever added matching rights on a contract? Let's just say you've signed Fraser Clarke from scratch. When his contract's up in a year's time, if somebody goes in for him, have you got matching rights? Would you consider doing that?
Look, I don't know if I can discuss other Fraser Clarke's contracts and this or that. I think,
as an example,
I'm not knocking matching rights if you're so invested in someone, but I think matching rights mean matching rights. Whether that's platform, whether that's money, whether that's that. The key thing in boxing is it is very important how many people you're fighting in front of. You can't make money unless you're famous in boxing. It's as simple as that, and you have that. But look, everyone was entitled to put what they want in contracts, but we require. Was that sugar? I knew it was sugar. We require fighters to warrant that they're out of contract before we can even speak to them. Never mind contract with them. So our conscience and the way we do things is clear. We don't want to get into battles with anyone. I think they've done great jobs with Lawrence and Josh, but fighters choose where they want to go. We can't not run our business. We want to attract the best talent that we possibly can. I want to get on with other promoters. We need to stop it because it just won't. It's not good for anyone, and it ends up in situations like what we're seeing, where there's stalemates all over the place. And then in terms of what they put in their contracts, it's up to them.
Ben Shalom, appreciate your time. Thank you. Ben Shalom wants to work with all the promoters if you're out there listening.